Behemoth, Opvs Contra Natvram, album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this latest album from Behemoth, Polish metal gods, and a band that means so much to me on so many levels. I mean, I've said it so many times on this channel, but I'll say it again. I grew up on black metal. I grew up on Blackened death metal, and Behemoth is a huge reason because of that. Now, their 90s albums like Sventieth and Grom, I mean, they're fine as it is. I mean, honestly, as far as late 90s black metal goes, a era of the genre that I've never been that crazy about. There's actually some good material on there. But it's their early 2000s material that really hit me hard. By this time, they had gotten their sound down to a science. Blistering death metal riffs alongside the epic black metal pageantry of the genre's past just clicked with me so hard. It's so obvious. The Lamest 6, Demigod, The Apostasy, these are albums that got me into the heavier side of metal. These albums were chaotic and apocalyptic and unbearably dark, but also easily accessible at the end of the day. And you know what? I'm going to be honest, if there's one album I've never cared for from them, it'd probably be Evangelion. Just, I'm not into it. Just a little too polished for my liking, but that's just me. But around that time, shortly after, just when I thought Behemoth was going a little soft, they put out The Satanists. This is their absolute masterpiece. It is an album that I push towards everybody that is looking to get into the heavier side of modern metal. It's just as crushing and as dark and pummeling as anything in their discography, but it's also pretty easy to digest. Dare I say, catchy at points. And also, I really did love their last album too, I Loved You at Your Darkest. This was a much more human, dare I say, emotional album from the band, but I thought it was done really tastefully, and it really stuck to their roots at the same time, which is not easy to do, which leads me to this new album. For the most part, I did enjoy the singles leading up to this quite a bit. Let's chat about this thing. This album starts off with post-God Nirvana, and right off the bat, ladies and gentlemen, you know what you're getting. They have such a way of building up their very dark, desolate world and doing it so fast. I love how slow-paced this is, the epic drums, the pounding horns in the background. The vicious vocals are great as well. This is a very slow-paced, building intro that really does usher in the album in a great way. It's not a ripper, it's not out of control, it's not a blast of black metal, but you know what? It does a great job of ushering this album in. I just love Behemoth whenever they roll around, and they are back with this album, baby. Next up, we have Malaria Vulgata. It's a great track. This is much more along the lines of what you would expect. I'm right at home with this track. I love the pummeling, intense drums. I love the vicious vocals that we get here. I love the overall crushing vibes to this track, just spitting directly into the face of Christianity. Fuck yeah! Now, is this fancy? No. Is this a game changer? No. Is this Behemoth coming to work, doing what they do best, obliterating everything in sight and doing it, just making it look easy? Yeah. And if you're going to listen to just one track here, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you were going to, make it the Deathless Sun. This track is absolutely gold. This is a deathly, wild, off-the-rails track that doesn't hold any punches. Behemoth here sound like the absolute legends that they are, and they do it in style. This track is absolutely gigantic, and in true Behemoth fashion, it's just catchy enough at points to make things sort of approachable. And as this track rolls on, it gets even more intense, more hellish. Hell yes. Of my Herculean, Exile is really good too. I've enjoyed it since it dropped as a single. I mean, much like a lot of the rest of this album, it is grim, it is barren, it is desolate. Now, this track is a little bit of a slow burner. It's not as pummeling, it's not as blood pumping. It's not overly flashy either, but I think that's what makes it worse. Some of the little details on this track really bring Behemoth's world to life and make things so effective. It is just great musicianship at the end of the day. While this is not Behemoth's best album, and I don't think it's as good as their last two albums, this is still a front runner for one of the best metal albums you're going to hear this year. I will say this though, there are two major down points on this album that actually disappoint me quite a bit. Disinheritance what the hell happened here? You know, I heard the strings pop in at the intro to this track, and all I could say was hell yes. But then everything else populates this track, like these cookie cutter verses, and these really pathetic drum fills, and I'm like, where even are we? I just know they could do so much better, and when you really zoom out and look at some of the details on this track, they were, you know, getting somewhere. There's some bare bones to something great here. Everything else outside of that, though, is really safe. And then you hear Once Upon a Pale Horse. This is piss poor. Not only is this the worst track that I've heard on this album, this may be the worst track I've heard from Behemoth in like 4 albums. I can't remember the last time they sounded so rigid, and what the hell happened to this production? Why is it so tinny? Yeah, it's absolutely abysmal. But outside of that, like I said, while not groundbreaking or anything wild or new, or this may be Behemoth on cruise control, but they are still one of the most crushing acts in the genre for a damn good reason. Neo-Spartacvs is awesome. This track does not waste a single second just bumping into an absolutely blistering verse. This one has such a sense of danger to it that I wish we heard so much more of on this album. The thunderous verses are great, the looming bass riff is awesome, the demonic backing vocals too are a big thumbs up from me. And I will say this, it's a little less gigantic sounding. I can see the production maybe rubbing some people the wrong way, but I feel like this is an absolute rip of a track, and it's really well done. It shows them bringing things back to basics, doing what they do best. Oh yeah, it's got a killer guitar solo too. Off to War was one of the first tracks I heard from this album. It's still really good. I love the chugging riff and just how explosive this track is. Thy Becoming Eternal all around is just where I want to hear my Behemoth. It is so ridiculous. It is so over the top. It is so unbearably crushing, but it also has a level of campiness to it that I have to respect. The playing is great. The performances are unbelievable. Just throw up your goddamn horns and enjoy yourself. And Versvs Christvs as a finale is really effective. And you may not be for this, but a lot of the music of Behemoth is just, you know, the epicness, the regality, the grandiose nature of everything piling up around you, and that's what we get as a finale. I love the dreary vocals that we get on here. I love the quiet nature of this. The drama is fantastic. The demonic voices in the background, too, are great. And the way this track builds very slowly, adds one instrumental after another, the pounding drums, the wailing guitars. This is what I show up for. Alongside some crushing production and some great group vocals, this is a great finale. This is still a very, very good album from Behemoth. I don't think it's as good as The Satanist or I've Loved You at Your Darkest, but if this is Behemoth on cruise control and just putting out great fucking tracks and showing why they are the legends that they are, sign me up for it every time. And yes, the blemishes on this record are pretty awful and some of the worst Behemoth tracks I've heard in years, but the quality of the rest of this album and the crushingness and the energy and the ballistic nature of it is something that I will always enjoy. And even Behemoth at their worst is kind of still, you know, better than a lot of what's going on in modern black metal. That's just me, though. I'm feeling a decent 8 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.